Good afternoon, race fans. Welcome to playoff race number one of the debut season of the PCSRA Busch Series, race number 27 on the regular season. We have now determined our 12 drivers that will battle for this season's chase for the championship, and it came down to one driver that we got in on points and one driver who came up 1 point short in the process. Tico Jumiaka is not one of those drivers who is battling for the championship. He is 24th in the points, still hasn't found victory lane this season. Alongside of him is playoff contender Darby King, who got a good result last week at April that got herself into the top 25 and has qualified for this season's playoffs. Jimmy Baker has been a struggling season for him. He is currently in the 30th position in points, just trying to find victory lane. And Jake Littletown comes in this race 22nd in points, another driver who has yet to find victory lane. As you look at the rest of the starting lineups here today, the 12 drivers that made it into this season's chase for the championship were the following. They were, I'll just do this on this. Azar Amirmoez, Annika Ricci, Jay Green, Malin Lee, L Bata did enough to make the top 25. Brad Blackmon, Danny Rant, who got in on points. Drake Robertson, Lucy Myers, Darby King, Elizabeth Gardner, and Liliana Beta also got in by the skin of her teeth. Bart Simpson came up 1 point short in making the playoffs, as we've now shown you the rest of the starting lineup. Let's get these cars rolling. See a couple of playoff contenders starting up at the front, so yes. You'll know in the description when you see the points, you'll see the 12 drivers with a C next to their name. That is how you can tell the drivers that made the playoffs versus those who did not. So let's give you the playoff standings, the updated after the reformat. Azar Amirmoez is the points leader by 10 points over Annika Ricci, 20 points over G Green. Malin Lee, 23 back, is fourth in the standings. L Bakai is 25 back in fifth. Brad Blackmon is 27 back in sixth, who's tied with Danny Rant. The catch is Brad Blackmon has been to victory lane, whereas Danny Rant has not. Drake Robertson is 30 points back in eighth, who he's tied with Lucy Myers, Darby King, Elizabeth Gardner, and Liliana Beta, which is pretty much simple as far as that's concerned. The one thing to note for these 12 drivers that made the playoffs, if any of them go to victory lane here today, doesn't matter what happens the next 2 weeks at IRP and our first elimination race, which I'm still trying to remember where we're going. They will be in the Elite Eight no matter what. Here we go. The green flag's in the air. The Camping World 300 is underway. Tika Jumiaka just trying to find victory lane. Of course, we talked about the 12 drivers that made the playoffs. There's another 28 cars that would like to go to victory lane as badly as they want. They don't care about the playoffs. They just want a victory as bad as possible. As Tico Jumiaka will lead the first lap. By the way, Darby King was the highest of the 12 drivers in the starting grid for this race. And she is still the highest as far as that's concerned. There's a couple of playoff drivers up here, L Bakai and Brad Blackmon. And we saw playoff drivers did very well in yesterday's Truck Series race. Will that be the case here today? We're going to have to wait and see in 27 laps time. So Azar Amirmoez was 30 above the cut line, 20 above the cut line for Annika Ricci, 10 above the cut line for Jay Green, 8 above the cut line for Malin Lee. Pakai was 5 above the cut line, 3 above was Danny Rant and Brad Blackmon. And then Drake Robertson, Lucy Myers, Darby King, Elizabeth Gardner, and Liliana Beta were all tied for that 8th position. But that will change when we know who will be the 4 drivers in the danger zone going into next time's race in 2 weeks at IRP. Next week, it's Winston Cup only. They're going to be at Michigan for the second race of the round of 16. And then the following week, we'll have the Trucks and Busch Series second playoff race of the first round for the rounds of 10 and 12. It will be the first elimination race for the Cup Series because when the checker flag waves, we will say goodbye to four drivers who will be eliminated, and then we'll have Trucks and Busch's first elimination race and Winston Cup's first race of the second round. Caution is out for the first time today. And unlike our Truck Series race, we will not go caution free. But now the question I have to ask is this: were any of our 12 playoff drivers involved? If they are, they're going to be in recovery mode going into next week's race. And this is the part of the season I'm not looking forward to that, as we have some skid marks on the back straightaway. Let's see. It is a playoff contender. Lucy Myers involved. She's got some rear end damage on the Hillsboro Coffee Chevrolet, and maybe Danny Rant involved. So a couple of playoff contenders involved. Danny Rant has yet to find victory lane. Michael Ford's got some damage on the 27. And I believe it was just those three drivers. Maybe Suni Sue has got some right side damage. Yes, she does. To the Reese's Chevrolet. So the caution's out for the first time today. Let's jump back, look at a replay to find out what happened. Well, it looks like Sally Ford, who was recently eliminated from the playoffs last week at April, got turned by the 7 of Riley Roblier. They're going to come down, collect playoff contender Lucy Myers, and that's what sends the 88 around. And there's where she gets the damage. And where does Bruno Wood, who got eliminated, involved? There's Emily Green. Annika Ricci, a playoff driver, got through that. Don't think the 29 got a lot of damage. Could have been a lot worse. There's Michael Ford, who bumps into the 48 of Danny Rant and puts the 48 into the wall. And there's where the hood buckle is. And that's why the 88 had a little bit more rear end damage on her Chevrolet. And that's a couple of playoff contenders involved, Myers and Danny Rant. So that's not good for the both of them. So if things don't improve soon, those two are going to find themselves below the cut line and going to have to be in recovery mode going into our next race in 2 weeks at IRP as the caution's out for the first time today. Let's jump back to the restart here at Chicagoland. Getting ready to go back to green on lap number 10 of 27. Should give us a total of 18 laps of racing to go. Tico Jumiaka is the leader. Jimmy Baker second. Azar Amirmoez third. Lee Levikai fourth. Brad Blackmon fifth. Darby King sixth. Malin Lee seventh. Eighth, Jake Littleton. Azar Amirmoez ninth. And Kyle Langeland, who this is his home race. He completes the top 10. Nobody is out of the race from that instant. And also, Diego Marquez is 11th. He was recently eliminated from making the playoffs last week. He did not get a win, but would like to get a win to finish off what's been a very consistent season for that two machine. Let's see, as I'm looking through the rest of the playoff grid. And of course, if Bart Simpson made the playoffs, he would have been below the cut line. So the 48-88. Let's see who else is in this. Suni Sue didn't make the playoffs. Who is the next? Think Annika Ricci, Liliana Beta, Danny Rant, and as we're back to green, and Lucy Myers would, as of now, and barring anything else happens between now and then, they would be the four drivers. Well, as soon as I say that, Drake Robertson had to restart the back. Drake Robertson came to pit road. So right now, um, Beta, Myers, Rant, and Robertson would be the four drivers below the cut line, but still got a long way to go. And remember, the 88 and the 48 has some damage to their machines. So Lucy Myers is going to need a good run next week at or our next race in 2 weeks at IRP, or find herself heading into the elimination race in a must-win situation. That's also our first caution of this race weekend because, as I said, the Truck Series race didn't have any cautions. And speaking of caution's out for the second time today, and of course the leaders have already passed the start finish line, so we're racing back to the caution. The other big question is who else of our 12 playoff contenders, if any of them are involved in this second incident of the day. A lot of smoke on the front straightaway. Yeah, we might have had a lot of cars involved, and I don't think we got away with it as Tika Jumiaka slowed down for some reason. Looks like Jimmy Baker overtook. Emily Green, who was just recently eliminated from the playoffs, involved. Suni Su is involved. Chloe Carmichael, who was recently eliminated, involved. Landon Ching, Tula Tapola, Michael Ford. Danny Rant is involved. That is his day done. He will be below the cut line. Kyle Langeland, Lucy Myers, a bad day gone worse. Bruno Wood, Drake Robertson. I do not know if he got any damage to that 92. I believe it was just those two drivers I just talked about that are. Oh, why are we stacking up, guys? Come on, this is not rocket science, y'all. Caution's out for the second time today as we're at the midway point of today's race. Let's jump back a little replay to find out what happened. So it looks like Kyle Langland's the one that started this incident. He was battling with playoff contender Jay Green, who he made contact with, but then came down and got spun by Azar Amirmoez, and that sent the Dr. Pepper Dodge around. Landon Ching nowhere to go. Look at Elizabeth Gardner, who did a brilliant job. Prudence Martindale barely gets through. And Kyle Langeland, the black smoke he rubs, and his homecoming is probably going to come to an end, but it's not over for him. As he's trying to get away from the incident, Tula Tapola just slams into the back of the 26. Danny Rant, there's Lucy Myers. Look at the 4 car up in the air. Goodness me, that scared the spectators. Holy cow. Suni Su got a piece of it. Emily Green, if she would have made the playoffs, she would have been below the cut line anyway. Same with Carmichael. But two playoff contenders, the 88 and 48, that also was involved in the first yellow as Tula Tapola lands on its wheels. But the two drivers I just talked about that got involved in the first yellow, the 48 and the 88, they're definitely going to be below the cut line and need a good run in 2 weeks or find themselves heading into our elimination race in the must win. As the yellow's out for the second time today, we're past the halfway point of the Camping World 300. Let's jump to the restart here at Chicagoland. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing as we're going to have 11 laps to go when we take the restart. Tika Jumiaka, the leader. Jimmy Baker's second. Makari was third. Malin Lee, one of our playoff contenders, is fourth. Darby King, the next highest playoff contender, in fifth. Jake Littletown, Azar Amirmoez, another playoff contender. Brad Blackmon, Lee Levakai, and Taylor Valley, the top 10. So we have 5 of our 12 playoff contenders inside the top 10. First, let's update you guys on the out of the race part. Emily Green, Danny Rant will be 34th, so he will be 11th of the 12 drivers in points. Kyle Langeland, Lucy Myers, she will be out of the race in 36, and then Landon Ching, Chloe Carmichael, Tula Tapola, and Michael Ford also out of the race. Let's see where the rest of our playoff contenders are running, the 10 that are still in this race. Jay Green is running in 14th, Elizabeth Gardner 18th. Let's see here. Liliana Bates at 28. Drake Robertson in 30th. Annika Ricci 22nd as we're back to green. And I've already mentioned about the others. So. And of course, somebody's going to end up going to be 9th and 10th in points below the cut line as well. And of course, they're going to need also a recovery run going into IRP in 2 weeks. 10 to go here at Chicagoland. The other thing is, if Darby King, Malin Lee win, that's a ticket to the round of 8. And they would enter the next 2 races worry-free, knowing they will be in the Elite 8 if they win today. Same with Azar Amirmoez. The five of the 10 playoff drivers that are inside the top 10 when we took the green, if they go to victory lane, doesn't matter what happens the next 2 weeks, the next two races, they will be in the Elite Eight regardless what happens. So they can go in that elimination race, be aggressive. They can have a poor finish, and here comes Darby King. Of course, our Truck Series race, none of our playoff contenders went to victory lane. None of them got a spot in the Elite Eight as the caution's out for the third time today. Darby King will also get a bonus point for leading a lap. Now the question is, were any more playoff contenders involved? I'm kind of scared to look, but we're going to do it anyway. Drake Robertson's involved, another playoff contender with Annie Winters. Kevin Lambert already had rear end damage. Oh, they're wrecking. Bakai's wrecked. That's a playoff contender. Elizabeth Gardner, another playoff contender. Sally Ford is involved. Bruno Woods also has some rear end damage. So we got more playoff drivers involved as the yellow's out for the third time today. First, let's see what brought out the yellow, and then we'll see what caused the incident under the yellow flag. Well, you can add another playoff driver who also got involved in this incident. That would be Liliana Beta. She's going to hook Kevin Lambert in the left rear of the MBNA America Chevrolet right down into playoff contender Drake Robertson, and took both cars into the wall, and April Winters just had nowhere to go. So that was our, before the wreck under the yellow, that was another playoff contender, third one of this race. I believe those drivers have continued on as far as that's concerned. Now let's see what caused the incident in turn number one under the yellow. Well, Sally Ford's going to be asked to see the officials after what we saw. Of course, Brad Blackmon got turned by L Pelekai. May I remind you, those two are playoff contenders. Sally Ford got swept up in this, actually. So it was L Pelekai who was just not using common sense, and she backs her Channel Lock Chevrolet in the wall. There's where Elizabeth Gardner gets a piece. She gets hit by Prudence Martindale. Justin Hugo gets involved. Annika Ricci gets a piece of it, I think. And Liliana Beta did a good job of avoiding that. And remember, she came off from that incident last year. Luna Farmers got damaged to the Albertson Ford. In fact, both PBC racing cars got involved, but I'm not sure what the deal was right there. I mean, they could have just slowed down and not run into each other, and unfortunately, we got more playoff drivers involved in this. So the yellow's out for the third time today, hopefully the final time. Let's get to the restart at Chicagoland. Getting ready to go back to green with 4 laps of racing to go. Darby King is the leader. Tico Jumiaka second, Azar Amirmoez third, Taylor Valley fourth, Jimmy Baker fifth, Tony Lopez, Makar Amirmoez, Diego Marquez, Malin Lee, Morgan Le Fay, and Morgan Le Fay rounds out your top 10, rather. Nobody else out of the race. Next caution that comes out will end this race under the yellow flag. Back to green here at Chicagoland. I was checking to see if I brought my green cup in from work, and looks like yes was the answer. Tika Jumiaka trying to go to the inside of Darby King. The battle for the 13 and 46 is going to be the points lead. Darby King, who has not been inside the top 10 in points all season, trying to take the points lead. Of course, whoever has a good run of, whoever is the highest of the 12 playoff drivers will take the points lead going into IRP in 2 weeks. As Jimmy Baker is going to take the lead. At the beginning of the regular season, he was in the top 10 in the points, and then bad luck happened to this McDonald's Ford, and he fell outside the top 30, and he's not having a good season ever since. He's been having rotten luck of late. are coming to take the white flag. Looks like Azar Amirmoez will probably be the highest playoff contender involved unless she ends up winning here. White flags in the air. One more lap to go here at Chicagoland. But I tell you what, Darby King will be in a very good position going into next race at IRP in 2 weeks. Tika Jumiaka to the inside of Jimmy Baker. Coming through 3 and 4. Tika Jumiaka was already eliminated from the playoffs. Cautions out, doesn't matter. Jumiaka is going to win at Chicagoland. Unfortunately for him, it came 1 week too late. Who brought out this last yellow? Oh, Darby King was involved. So is Annika Ricci. Oh, this could have huge ramifications as far as the points is concerned. And before we show your official finishing results, let's see what happened to Darby King. Looks like Darby King was on the outside, and looks like Annika Ricci was not paying any attention and just got right rear hooked into the wall by the Civil Air Patrol Chevrolet. And I was just getting ready to talk about Darby King, who was going to have a good result here today. Unfortunately, she's going to have a pretty poor result, and this could put her below the playoff cut line because of this. And look at all the positions she lost. She almost got sideswiped a little bit by L Bata. So that's what brought out the final caution of the race, but it didn't really matter because the leaders were racing back to the yellow. Let's take you to your official finish results here at Chicagoland. While the pace car is just riding around for whatever reason, Tika Jumiaka has gone to victory lane. Azar Amirmoez was so close to her 5th win of the year, but she will keep the points lead heading into IRP in 2 weeks. So she'll have a nice little advantage over the cut line. Jimmy Baker 3rd, Diego Marquez 4th, Tony Lopez 5th, Riley Robles 6th. Tough break for him as he didn't make the playoffs, but that's okay. Brad Blackmon 7th. He was another driver who is a playoff contender. Good run for him in 7th. This will sit him pretty nicely heading into IRP. Jake Littleton, Jay Green, and Malin Lee, the top 10. The last 2 are also playoff contenders. So this will sit them nicely as far as that's concerned. So we had 1, 2, 3. Let me think. I think we had 4. Yeah, we had 4. Azar, Blackmon, Green, and Lee. Where were the other 8 that finished? L Pelekai will get 15th. Liliana Beta 17th. Gardner gets 21st. Annika Ricci 23rd. Not the run she was hoping for as you look on down to the rest of the finishing results here. Let's see here if I missed anybody. Drake Robertson 29th. Darby King went from 6th to 31st, the last car on the lead lap. Danny Rant, Lucy Myers, all out of the race. And I believe I hit all 12 of them, excuse me. So that means, looking at the calculations here, the 4 drivers in the danger zone going into next time's race at IRP in 2 weeks, Myers, Rant, King, and Robertson, which means I believe Annika Ricci would be the driver on the bubble as far as the 8th position the points is concerned. So, or did I miss a driver? Let me double check. Nope, I got everybody. Okay. I thought I missed a driver, but I'm just seeing things. But anyway, so for those 4, they're going to definitely need a good run next time out at IRP or find themselves heading into the elimination race in a must-win situation. But thank you all for joining me for today's race for the Busch Series here at Chicagoland. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCSRA crew today. We've shown your full finish results. Your points and playoff points are down in the description. Keep an eye on that cut line where 8th place is. As far as that's concerned, as we head to IRP in 2 weeks' time. First, we cap off this race weekend with the Winston Cup Series playoff opener here at Chicagoland. And then next week, it's just the Winston Cup as they head off to the, I believe that, no, I said Michigan. They are actually heading to Pocono for the second race of the round of 16, which will set us up for the following week as all 3 series will race at Indianapolis at 2 different tracks. Trucks and Busch will be at IRP for the second race of their first round. It will be the first elimination race for the Winston Cuppers. We'll see you tomorrow for the Winston Cup race. Until then, I've been D Deville signing off. You've been watching another broadcast of PCSRA TV, where champions are made since 2010 and 15 years as the best auto racing around the world since 2017. So long from the Windy City.